I spent the past couple of days shooting the same scenes with 3 different 50mm lenses, and what I found out might change how you think about cinema glass. You see, I wanted to answer the question, should you buy Canon's new $1,500 RF 50 f1.4 VCM, or should you save some money, grab an RF 50 f1.8 for photos, and then use the money left over to get a Cine lens like the DZO Vespid Prime for video work? On paper, it seemed pretty obvious. You could get 2 dedicated lenses for $500 less than the Hybrid Prime, but once I started using these lenses in the field, the answer didn't seem so obvious anymore. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which setup is right for you. We're going to break down photos, video, bokeh, color, focusing, build quality, and the one thing that nobody really talks about that might actually be a deciding factor. So let's get into it. For the comparison, we have 3 very different 50mm lenses. First up is the Canon RF 50 f1.8. This is Canon's budget 50mm prime. It's $200, it's plastic, it's light, and it's a go-to recommendation for anybody getting into the RF system. For photos, this lens has always been solid, but for video, well, we'll get into that. Next, we have the Canon RF 50 f1.4 L VCM. This is Canon's new hybrid 50mm prime and is part of their new hybrid lens lineup. You get a declicked aperture ring, virtually zero focus breathing, and the thing has lightning fast autofocus. This is a lens that's supposed to be a do-it-all, photos, video, all in one package. And finally, we have the DZO Vespid 50mm T2.1. This is a true cinema prime, PL mount, all metal construction, geared focus and iris rings, and at $799, this is one of the best value cinema lenses out today. Let's start with photo. For pure image quality, the Canon RF 50 f1.4 L VCM is going to take the crown. It's the sharpest of the 3, it has the fastest autofocus, and the raw files from this lens just pop out of camera. You get classic Canon colors, great contrast, and with an f1.4 aperture, you get crazy amounts of background separation. The f1.8, honestly, it's right there with it for 90% of the use cases. It's not quite as sharp and it does have a little more CA, but honestly for YouTube thumbnails, social media, even client work if you're being intentional with your shots, this lens is more than capable. And at $200, it's one of the best value lenses on the market today. Now, the Vespid, and this is where things get interesting. Shooting with this lens felt like going back to the old film days. No autofocus, no software, just you, your camera, and a perfectly dampened focus ring. And with focus peaking turned on, nailing focus is not actually as hard as you might think. With the Canon lenses, you just point, shoot, and then you move on. With the Vespid, you have to slow down, you have to be intentional, and honestly, that's not actually a bad thing. This lens made me so much more engaged with the process of taking photos. So, for photos, here's my take. If you're primarily a photographer or you need speed and reliability, the VCM is going to be the clear winner. If you're on a budget or you just need a solid photo lens for occasional use, the f1.8 is shockingly good. And if you want the most fun and engaging photo experience, and you don't mind missing a few shots, the Vespid is a ton of fun to shoot with. Alright, now let's talk video. Starting with the f1.8, because this is definitely not this lens's strong suit. The image quality is good, actually way better than I was expecting for a $200 lens, but using it for video just felt clunky. It's uninspiring, and it just doesn't give you the same amount of confidence as the other two. First is the focus breathing. It's bad, like really bad. Even small shifts in focus causes the entire frame to shift, and doing a focus pull from foreground to background, the image shifts so much that it becomes a real distraction. Second is the fact that there is no declicked aperture ring. If you want to adjust exposure, you have to use the control wheel on the back of the camera, which means every time you need to change the f-stop, the exposure is going to jump, completely breaking the whole experience. And lastly, getting in and out of the manual focus mode does require diving into the camera menu. There is no switch on the lens, so if you want to quickly grab a manual focus shot, you have to fumble through the menu while the moment is disappearing. So yeah, for video, the f1.8 it just isn't it. Next is the VCM, and this is where Canon's hybrid approach really shines. The focus breathing is virtually gone. I tested long focus pulls from infinity to close focus and back, and the frame barely shifted at all. You can adjust the autofocus speed in camera, and when you turn it all the way down, this lens focuses very slowly, way slower than the f1.8, even with the speed turned all the way down. The declicked aperture ring is such a refreshing addition from Canon. It's smooth, it's precise, and it allows exposure adjustments on the fly without any jumps or jitters. It's honestly the one feature that I wish Canon would implement in every RF lens moving forward. Now, when it comes to autofocus, it's incredible. Face tracking, eye tracking, even back of head tracking for gimbal work, for solo shooting, for running gun work, for YouTube videos when you're presenting to camera. Having focus that you can trust is huge, and with the VCM motors, it's also completely silent. Now, there is a trade-off. The image out of this lens is very clinical. It's sharp, it's clean, it's technically excellent, but it does lack any kind of character. So if you're somebody that picks a lens based on unique rendering or look, the VCM lacks a little bit of that. And this kind of perfectly brings us to the Vespid. This lens is a dream for video, as it should be. The long focus throw means precise, easy focusing. The physical distance markers on the barrel itself means repeat focus pulls is consistent and easy. The geared rings mean you can add a follow focus or a fizz system and control it remotely. And the rendering, it just is different. Slightly more contrast, it does lean a little magenta, but the way it renders faces and scenes just feels, I don't know, a little more special. The bokeh is also noticeably better. The VCM has some crazy onion ring pattern in the autofocus areas, and it cat's eyes pretty aggressively towards the corner. With the f1.8, you get some fringing and chromatic aberration around the bokeh, but with the Vespid and its 16 blade aperture, this lens gives you perfectly circular bokeh from center to corner, with just a little bit of cutting on the very edges. Out of the three, I definitely enjoyed the Vespid the most. Flare quality, all three lenses flare when you point them directly at the sun, but the Vespid does give you just a little more character. You get a distinct blue orb when firing a light down the barrel, and just a bit more bloom when the light is off axis. The VCM definitely has the best flare control thanks to modern coatings, and the f1.8 sits somewhere in the middle. Like with the other two, the Vespid does have a few trade-offs, the main one being it is a manually focus-only lens. For certain situations like tracking a subject on a slider or filming as a solo operator where you can't really monitor the shot, autofocus can be a lifesaver. With the Canon lenses, you just set the focus point or you turn on face or eye detect and the camera handles the rest. With the Vespid, you have to constantly adjust focus, and if you are shooting something like this shot, having autofocus gives you just that extra layer of confidence that the final shot is going to be in focus. So for video, here's my take. If you're shooting narrative work, commercial projects, anything where you're always going to be behind the camera and you want maximum control, the Vespid is incredible. If you're a solo shooter, a YouTuber, or you need autofocus for gimbal work or running gun work, the VCM is going to be hard to beat. And the f1.8, it's fine for static shots or anything off a tripod, but anything more complex with focus pulls or changing exposure, it just wouldn't be the lens that I would want to use. So let's answer that question from the beginning of this video. Do you buy one lens that does everything, the $1,500 VCM, or do you buy two specialized lenses, the $200 f1.8 for photos and the $800 Cine Prime for video? On paper, the math seemed obvious. You're spending $1,000 versus $1,500. You're getting a true Cine lens with better bokeh and more character, plus a very capable photo lens with autofocus, and you save $500 in the process. But here's the one thing I left out. Swapping lenses is a massive pain. And I don't just mean physically. Every time I switched from the f1.8 to the Vespid during the shoot, it slowed me down, but worse, it created decision paralysis. Which lens am I going to bring with me today? Which one stays in the bag? And what am I prioritizing, photo or video? If you're a hybrid shooter who needs both on the same shoot, you're basically choosing your creative limits before you even leave the house. This is where the VCM's value really became clear. You get tack-sharp photos with beautiful fall-off at f1.4, then you flip to video mode and you have virtually zero focus breathing, smooth aperture control, and autofocus that you can use for gimbal work or run and gun filmmaking. Is this lens perfect? No, but for one lens that does both things really well, that convenience is legitimately worth something. Now, here's my honest take after using all three. I would buy the f1.8 if you're photo first and on a budget. At $200, it's sharp, it's reliable. You just have to accept the fact that video isn't this lens's strength and you're gonna be just fine. I would buy the Vespid if you're video first and building a cinema kit. This is where the long-term play matters. Cinema lenses are camera agnostic. You can use this on a Canon R6 today, a Sony FX3 tomorrow, and Arri Alexa down the road. And DZO offers 11 different focal lengths for the Vespid lineup versus Canon's much smaller 5 for the VCM lineup. If you're serious about video and want a kit that's going to last regardless of what camera you're shooting on, this makes total sense. Plus, at $799 per lens, it's a steal for what you're getting. And finally, I would buy the VCM if you're a hybrid creator and can't be swapping lenses. YouTubers, wedding shooters, event coverage, anything where speed matters, this lens delivers. Yes, it's $1,500, but the mental overhead you save by not having to think about which lens to bring, that's genuinely valuable. Before I did this test, I probably would have told you to just buy the 2-lens combo and pocket the savings. But after shooting with all three in the real world, the frustration of gear management really does add up. It's not just about image quality or specs, it's about the whole experience of using the gear. Does the tool get out of your way and just let you create, or does it constantly demand your attention? The Vespid was the most fun to shoot with. Every time I picked it up, I wanted to keep going. The tactile feel, the rendering, the intentionality that it forced, it just made me a more engaged filmmaker. But the VCM was definitely the most useful. It constantly got the shot no matter the situation, no fumbling, no second guessing, you could just shoot with this. So ultimately, the right choice depends on what you shoot, how you shoot, and what you value most. At the end of the day, all three of these lenses are capable of producing incredible images. The gap between a photo lens and a cine lens is narrower than you might think. What matters most is how you use the lens, the lighting, the composition, the story you're trying to tell. So which lens or lens combo would you choose? Let me know in a comment down below. And if you found this video helpful, hit the like button and consider subscribing. I got a ton more gear comparisons and filmmaking content coming in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another one.